Carson Beck, what you think his potential is going into the season. How is he looking in Miami fall camp so far? And what are your expectations for Carson Beck this season? Go ahead.
Yeah, Carson's looked good. We've been out there a few times through drills, and we watched some one-on-one, some half-line drills. So we do see him go up against the defense. I think it just looks sharp. He just as a guy that makes the right throws and practices and puts the ball in good spots. And I think what's interesting with this team and Carson and the passing offense, where I don't think the receivers are essentially, not at his level. And so I think the big thing is how much can he elevate these guys? Can good quarterback play essentially kind of bring these guys along? And you touched on a couple young guys, it's game one for Miami. These guys have to be ready. Number 6 Notre Dame coming into town to start it off. So it's not about what does the season look like. It really does, start with this first game, and then they play in Florida. They're playing Florida rivalry game as well in game 4. So they get going quite a bit. But I'm expecting Carson. I'm expecting him to have a good year. I think he's obviously a good quarterback. He has shown that. The ups and downs, I think that's part of being at a high level program like Georgia, and we'll see how he does new scenery. But again, I think the receiving group, and it's not just the wide receivers, tight end as well. They're trying to replace a big guy they lost last year in Arroyo off to the NFL. So a lot of question marks for me. It's just the way I see it. A lot of question marks there with those pass catchers.
No doubt. I have a question going back to Carson Beck. His UCL injury, his elbow injury, is everything good with that? Is he fully recovered from that? Is everything, no setbacks or nothing? Everything's good as in fall camp?
Yeah, as far as we know, and he kind of talked pretty candidly at media day, and again, when we're out there, he's participating in every drill. Basically, if you didn't know anything, you wouldn't think that he had an injury, which is a good sign. So you're not seeing, essentially, we're not seeing him sit out a bunch of stuff because of soreness. There wasn't a plan of that from the coaching staff going into fall camp. It wasn't like, okay, Carson, we'll go a few days on, a day off. It wasn't presented that way. It was essentially he's been ready to go since the summer, since he was cleared. And really, he looks ready to go from that standpoint. But again, missing spring ball, needing that connection. They're trying to really speed up everything in terms of that connection with receivers. And each and every day at practice is certainly an opportunity to do that. But yeah, Carson healthy, which I think should ease a lot of people's minds, because it does look good, and it looks good when he throws it.
That's really good to hear. That's good news coming for the Canes. What's the expectation down there, Chris, for Carson Beck? Is he expected to play at the level of Cam Ward? What do the pieces look like around him? Kind of discuss that. What is the expectation for Carson Beck's play going into this season?
I think expectations are for Carson Beck to be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. Now, everyone understands how good Cam Ward was, number 1 pick, everything he was able to do. I think everyone just kind of understands, look, Carson's not going to be that, but he should be pretty good, and he should be essentially better than other recent quarterbacks they've had at Miami, expecting better play than a Tyler Van Dyke, for example, certainly. And I think for Carson, and I said this as soon as he got here, look, as much as Cam Ward did at Miami, individual stats, the offense going 9-0, they didn't get to the ACC championship game. So there's still an opportunity for Carson to have a successful season and do something that Cam was unable to do. And I think that's the focal point for this team, for Carson. It's big shoes to fill. He understands that, but he did step in at Georgia with big shoes to fill. So I think he understands that. And again, I just think that they're expecting to have a good offense with Carson, expecting good quality play, and be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC.
No doubt. And that's interesting, because I was curious on the expectation, because I think Cam Ward played at such a high level, and obviously he only played there for a year. So I'm curious, is there an expectation for a drop off? It sounds like not so much, and that's a good thing if Carson Beck's competing to be one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC. We've talked about the young guys, the young weapons. I wanted to ask you about one of those young weapons who I discussed with Matt Shadell, owner of Cane Sport, a few months back. But Malachi Tony, what's his role going to be in Miami's offense this season? Obviously a young guy, extremely young guy, and will be a true freshman technically, but he's a young cat, but he's about to make some plays this season. What's his role going to be in Miami's offense? How is he looking in fall camp?
He's looked good. He had a good spring coming off the state championship game there for Heritage. He just looks good. He's a natural, just a gifted player.
Mhm.
Skill wise, you see it when he catches the ball. He's a slot guy. That's what they're looking at for him in the offense. When touch on how things are going, he's having a good fall by all accounts, and from what I've seen, but will he be ready to make a true big impact in game one against Notre Dame? We'll see. And we'll
Mhm.
see how much the coaches actually trust him. Now, I think he could have a good freshman season, but we'll see how he does in game one. I
Mhm. Absolutely.
apologize. But another thing for Malachi, he could be the team's punt returner as well. So
Ooh,
he's
yeah.
a guy that, again, the quickness is there, the speed, the game changing ability. Right now, Ray Joseph has that spot there in the slot, but Malachi can certainly, with his play, kind of, compete for playing time. And obviously, there's hope that he can kind of be the guy there.
Yeah, especially as a young cat, if he can get on the team of special teams, whether that's the return game or whatever, and make a play, that's really could be where he has an impact early. But also, you mentioned that Miami wide receiver group. You could be at some point expect to see Tony in the first few games or down the line of the season as a young cat potentially. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.